Welcome to 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, Season 3. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator. Each week, I sit down with a different author to explore what lies behind the pages. Growth, purpose, finding your voice. Enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. Today, I am joined by Jeff. I'm pausing because I had to mentally prepare to say Borschowa. And I probably botched it up, Jeff, but
You said it perfectly. I'm going to let you know, Dr. Lisa, that I give people grace because when I was a child learning how to pronounce it and spell it, it was not easy. So I recognize it's not as simple. I wish I was a Smith or a Campbell, but Borschowa is perfect.
all right. And Jeff is, if you look at underneath Jeff's name, it's the AI Whisperer. But Jeff's book is The Art of Cyber War, a modern practical reinterpretation of Sun Tzu's For the Age of Social Engineering and Digital Deception.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yes, I had to pause. So, Jeff, before we get into a little bit about the book, we don't want to tell them everything about the book, but tell our listening, viewing audience some things about you.
Sure. Well, for starters, I'm one of those weird people who realized that AI was here to stay about 2 years ago, maybe almost 3. And so I spend a lot of time teaching others. And more importantly, I am neurodiverse. I'm blessed with both autism and ADHD. And I have 2 wonderful kids that are both autistic and ADHD. And just because we needed a box set, my wife is also autistic and ADHD. And one of the things I recognized was that the world is very different for neurodiverse people. And the reality was, I was talking to somebody, they said how cyber threat actors target children that are neurodiverse. And me being a dad, I said, not on my watch. So all of a sudden I had a new project and a new book was born. So
I love it. So, fun fact, my oldest daughter, Jasmine, has autism, but Jasmine has several intellectual disabilities. So while she can walk and eat, she loves to eat. She does not speak and cannot hear. And so I'm often she was just home for Thanksgiving. And so we were watching football and she was sitting on the couch and I do this quite often when she's home with us, like what's going through her mind? Like I wish I would know what's going through her mind because she's for the most part happy. And is always like doing something with her hands and laughing, just like I always say the angels are constantly talking to her. And our running joke is Jasmine, which is what her name is. Jasmine's living her best life because she doesn't have a clue what's going on at all. And she gets her needs met, and life is good for Jasmine. Excuse me. So I'm blessed and honored to be able to speak with you because one of the things that I really wish that I could have is for Jasmine to be able to talk to me.
I'm going to give you a tiny little gift, Lisa. If you know how to listen, she's already talking to you. And we'll get into this off the air, but the reality is, so I have some friends who are nonverbal. The world calls them nonverbal. They prefer non-speaking. And I'm absolutely obsessed about helping them share their knowledge. Because one of the things that I find annoying in this space is if you don't speak, people assume that there's no intelligence there. I've met some ridiculously intelligent nonverbal people. I've actually met a couple that were capable of speech, but chose not to because it interrupted their thoughts. So we'll talk more about that. But the world of autistic is so misunderstood, and for the record, I'm not saying there aren't challenges because it is a spectrum, and anytime you have a spectrum, there's people with different levels of abilities. But one thing I will say is I almost guarantee Jasmine knows exactly what's going on, and her joy around you. When you said that angels speak to her, I don't disagree. I actually think that's quite appropriate to describe what some people who choose not to speak or who can't speak, I believe that they hear things that the rest of us aren't listening for.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what motivated you to write this book. But before you do that, no, go ahead and say that because I have something I have to tell you that just literally popped into my head this morning when I woke up. It's so crazy.
Awesome. Well, for what it's worth, you can't tease somebody with ADHD and not tell me because my head will explode. So I'm going to hold you to it. But truly, I was doing a podcast. I can't remember exactly who. I think her name was Moira. We were talking about autistic children, and she said something that got into my brain and dug deep roots. She said that the threat actors actively target autistic kids. And the reason they actively target autistic children is we can be incredibly bright and simultaneously incredibly literal and trusting. And so, one of the things, and this is sort of where the book came from, these threat actors, they will manipulate and they will access these autistic people, get them to do things they claim are in the greater good. You know, they'll say, oh, we're with the FBI or the CIA, and they bring in mission and the greater good. And these kids will end up hacking the Pentagon. And when the FBI actually kicks a door in, guess whose door they're kicking in? The autistic family. And meanwhile, the manipulators out there are living their best lives and doing whatever it is they do. And so to me, that was just completely unacceptable that we would look at the autistic world and say, oh, well, and just leave them be. But genuinely, my friend said that not helping autistic people is an international threat. Literally, if somebody's going to hack these systems, it's going to probably be an autistic kid who's been manipulated and led to believe they're doing the right thing. So I looked at my boys and I said, nope, that's not going to happen. And so I literally, it's going to sound a little arrogant, but very quickly I became an expert in cybersecurity. And what I realized was that probably 80-90% of cybersecurity is about the human at the keyboard, has little to do with the hardware and the software, and almost everything to do with what I call the fleshware. So if we teach people how these threat actors are being manipulative and what they're doing, we can actually make our kids safer without having to, put big fortresses around them.
Jeff, I want you to know this book is also for senior citizens because they are targeted as well. I feel like every week there's something wrong with my mother's phone. Like I'll FaceTime her and I'm like, I can't see you. She's like, oh, I did something. And interestingly, about 6 months ago, we were going on a trip and to Atlanta. We live in Chicago, so we were going to Atlanta. And my mom said, "Oh, I'll book the hotel." So I'm like, "Okay." So Atlanta had some bad weather and our trip had to be canceled. So I'm
Yeah.
calling the hotel to try to cancel this reservation, and they're like, um, you didn't make the reservation with us. And so my mom is in the background, like, I have this confirmation. Well, it turns out what happened was she typed in, Atlanta Marriott, right? And so another site came up. It's a legitimate site, like one of those third party situations.
Yeah.
But when it came to canceling and contacting the hotel, everything was, you got to go through this third party. You got to go through this third party. And then when I looked at the fees that they charged for this reservation,
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, you're not making any more reservations. None. None. Now I
Yeah.
did give her a little education, like, um, always go to the actual website, right? But she
Yeah.
just, she Googled Atlanta Marriott by the airport. We stayed there many times, but generally I make the reservation. But so I'm happy that you saw this need, because I do agree that there is unfortunately a target. And I have had an opportunity to meet a lot of neurodiverse individuals who are highly intelligent, and you talk about this in the book, that the cyber threat is not technical in nature, it's emotional. Can
Yeah.
you expound on how the attackers kind of exploit the trust and the fear and all of that?
Absolutely. And yeah, for the record, seniors are heavily exploited. And I think what we'll say is they target the vulnerable. And unfortunately, seniors, if they're isolated or alone, or they're not tech savvy, they're prime targets. But believe it or not, they actually released some statistics, and of all of the age groups, Gen Z, they're more likely to be scammed than seniors. That there's a unique twist in how generations interact and behave. But Gen Zers have been taught to be a little bit more trusting, and so they're a little bit more vulnerable. Now, when it comes to seniors, you're probably looking at bigger events because you're cleaning out life savings. But a lot of Gen Zers, and the other piece is the shame. A lot of seniors don't want to admit they've been scammed. So I suspect the numbers are a little bit off. But what I'd like people to recognize is that these people have limited tricks. Literally, there's only a handful of things. And once you recognize those handful of things, you are in control. So whether you're a senior, you're young, and for the record, there's actually a correlation between intelligence and scams. Really, really intelligent people who are maybe less people savvy, if they're very book smart, they tend to fall for these scams because they seem logical. So the big, big flags is anytime something is urgent. So they don't want you thinking, in the case of your mom, they don't want her to call you and say, Lisa, what do you think of this? They want an immediate answer. So, and by the way, marketing and scamming are almost identical in language. So judge as you will. I will be rewriting this book for an older audience as well as for a younger audience. But the fundamental thing is they'll try to rush you into doing something without giving you a chance to confirm. The other thing, and this is both of my boys know this, the minute somebody says, don't tell anyone else, that is the red flag. You drop everything, you come grab dad and say, Dad, this is what's going on. The minute somebody says, we got to keep it secret, that's a problem. And by the way, I would rather be wrong that something that shouldn't have been shared got shared than something that needed to be shared was kept secret. And by the way, this applies to predators in real life as well as online. They want to isolate and confuse and basically get their victim off of their normal balance. So those are the two biggest things. And then the other is, if you look, they love email phishing scams, things like that. Hover before you click on anything in your email, hover over it and make sure that the link matches what shows up on the hover, because usually they're good, but they can't fake a real account. So one thing I'll share, and by the way, I personally believe I'll watch my language, but there's a very hot place with pokers and brimstone for these people because they literally target trust. And I hate to say this out loud, but trust is the greatest, weakest link in online because we can't validate as easily as we could in person. But if somebody calls you and says it's urgent, find a way to verify who they are, where they are. Legitimate places like banks or what have you. You can call their switchboard and they'll say, "Oh, yes, you want to talk to Lisa? She's in our loans department. I'll put you through." But anytime they say, "Don't call the main branch," one of the scams that I hate the most, they tell seniors your account's been hacked, somebody's stealing money from your account. We need your account as bait. Can you move all your money to this account? And by the way, don't tell anyone at the branch because we suspect the manager. They really sow distrust. So one of the things I do is if somebody's making me feel urgent or anxious, I slow down a little. And the other one, and God, this shouldn't have to be said, but it has to be said. Most legitimate companies do not take gift cards as payment. So if somebody sends you out to your grocery store or whatever to get Amazon or whatever gift cards, it's probably not legitimate.
My gosh, Jeff, I wish that we would have been having this conversation, not you and I, but you and my son, who is 29. First week of college, somebody scammed him via phone and took like $500 or $600 out of his account. He was literally traumatized behind that.
Yeah.
And I guess because I work in healthcare, my mindset is definitely slow down. Um, I am so sick and tired of the text messages that they send. I literally just this is just where I'm at. And I actually told I think my father this. Just scrutinize everything.
Yeah.
Everything is fake until proven otherwise. That keeps you safe so that you can
Yeah.
investigate everything.
Yeah.
I think about last year, I was working at a hospital system and by the way, I'm not a physician. Let me just say that. I like to always say that. And somebody hacked into the health system and literally took down an entire system across multiple states. Can you imagine the impact that it had on patient care because you had these young doctors who were like, "I gotta write my notes on a piece of paper? What is this all about?" So it literally, damaged the system for months, and I just think that these bad actors, I really want them to figure out something else to do because I'm over them trying to scam us.
Yeah.
And
And
during the holiday season, it was horrible.
yeah. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Number one, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I assume everything's a scam unless I prove it otherwise, and especially in the holidays. So there's a lot of things. My mom, when I was a kid, would say, "If it's too good to be true, it probably is." Yes, yes, it is. And I think the part that really deeply disturbed me is when I get a scam caller on my phone, I shouldn't engage, but I get angry and I try to shame them and ask them about, does your mom know what you do for a living? And the big aha for me was that most of these scammers are just starving, hungry people that are trying to feed their kids. And it's kind of like, in the old movies where, somebody would take a bunch of kids in London and have them become pickpockets so that they could not get beaten that night. I do have some empathy for these scammers because most of the money goes up the food chain to the top. Now, unfortunately, you keep shutting down call centers, you're just going to have the low end people that suffer, the billionaires running it. And by the way, that's the part that sickens me. It is in some parts of the world considered maybe not a legitimate business, but it's a business model. And unfortunately, in North America, we are considered, we're not highly regarded in some parts of the world. We're considered arrogant and fat and lazy. And yeah, it's almost a badge of honor to rip people off that are, you know, so it's a really tough place. And, I'd love to live in a world where we ended this sort of thing. But the very first thing we have to do is end poverty,
Amen.
because the minute somebody's hungry, life choices become different. And that's the part I want most people to understand. It's not personal. It might feel personal, but most of the time, before they reach out, before they attempt to scam you, they've been on your social media and they've researched you, so they know the trigger things. If you're grandma and you've got a video of your grandkids, they're going to copy the language that the grandkids use, and they're going to use AI to pretend that a grandkid, the other big scam is, grandma was in a car accident, I need money right away, can you send cash? And I'll be at the whatever Western Union station, send it. It's amazing that these people, like, they don't think of the victims, because that would require that they understand that they're the villain. And to them, they're just, well, I go to work every day, I'm in a call center just like everybody else, I'm just dialing for dollars. And legitimately, they use the same language that sales centers use. It's not about the mark and the money we're stealing, it's about closing deals. So they've normalized it to the point that nothing can stop them. Now, I'm going to rant here for a second, but I personally believe that our telecom and our regulatory systems are part of the problem. And one of the dreams I have is that there'll start to be class action suits, because if these scammers are getting through on my phone number, shouldn't the carrier have some sort of accountability when they tell me, oh no, this is a legitimate local number, even though it's bounced off 5 relays and it originated somewhere in a known call center, scam center world?
You know what? So I'm going to tell you what this vision that I had this morning when I woke up. So first of all, let me tell you this. When I do these episodes, I'm generally meeting with multiple authors in one day, right? But for some reason this morning I woke up and I said, what would life be like if we all had a mandatory 2 days a week where we didn't use the phone, we couldn't get on the internet, we couldn't watch TV? How different would our life be if we took those things away just 2 days a week or even 1 day a week? Would that cause us to slow down? Would that cause us not to be so susceptible to all of these threats? Because I feel like people are going to hate me for saying this. Our devices are holding us hostage, literally, literally. And it's
Amen.
scary. It's scary because um yeah, I'm not going to say anything else about that. And I will say I have thought about, you should try it 1 day a week. Just leave your phone up. Now this is the problem. At the time of us recording this, Chicago Bears are 9-3.
That's a problem, right?
Yes. So on Sundays, I need to be able to turn on the game and watch the Bears. So I probably would have to do a Saturday. But I'm really committed to trying it just to see what impact it has on my life. So first of all, I love to read, right? So I think it'll
Yeah.
be very easy for me to just navigate my day with no technology whatsoever. I'm going to let you know once I do it.
Awesome. I want to hear all about it. And I will tell you. So, first of all, these things were designed to be addictive. So, when people say I'm addicted to my phone, it's not a joke, it's actually real. What we did in our house, and believe me, I have two teenage boys. They fought tooth and nail because they thought it was something I was doing to them. But we arbitrarily decided that Sundays are tech free days.
No
And
football?
it was fascinating. And for the record, yes, be mindful, and maybe Saturdays are better. No rhyme or reason to Sundays other than we wanted it to be a reset before everybody goes off to school and work on Monday. And it was amazing. As a family, we committed to it, and we stuck with it for about a year, and then things sort of petered off, but I think we're going to renew it in 2026. But it was amazing because we had more conversations. My wife and I had more conversations. My kids and I, my kids and my wife, we went for a walk. That was one of our reasons for Sunday. We all went for a walk together on a Sunday. Now, we weren't quite Quakers. We made it a tradition of Sunday is family dinner and movie night. So we eat dinner together, and then we watch a movie together. Um, it was amazing. And I'll point to the benefits in my kids, but my wife and I saw it in ourselves. Everybody was calmer. Everybody, I'm going to be honest, we were nicer to each other. But it was just really, and I will say this, early days, the addiction, the withdrawal really pulled at you. And I'm going to be honest, we caved when my wife got caught checking her Instagram, and my kids said, "Well, how come mom can?" And I'm like, "I got nothing. I literally got nothing."
Oh my gosh, you probably were like, "Wife, we had a plan."
Yeah. And for the record, I am not one of those do as I say, not as I do parents. But, I said, fair's fair. If mom's on her device, you guys can be on yours. And then once that happened, we let the genie out of the bottle, and it was gone. But we still do the walks, we still do the dinner, we still do the movie. But it's now, we kind of become ghosts. Everybody's walking past, everybody's staring at their phones. Um, I still personally, I try to shut my phone off after work. I don't use it in the evenings because it is so easy. And pick a platform, they're all evil. They make their money keeping you addicted to being on the platform. So doom scrolling it's an addiction. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you know what? So that just reminds me. There's this resource that lists all of the different types of mental disorders. So I'm gonna look in there because I got one here somewhere to see if cell phone addiction is listed as a disorder, because it has to be. Because my husband's gonna kill me for saying this, but he he likes to watch these videos on YouTube about pouring concrete, and he's watching one after the other. I'm thinking he's watched so many videos. I feel like he should go outside and pour concrete because I
Yeah.
feel like he knows how to do it. I'm
Yep.
sure he does. But TV and the reels and all of that, that's how he unwinds.
Yep.
But I want to see if I can get him to do that no technology day with me. It probably won't happen.
For what it's worth, my wife loves two very strange things, but she finds there's this one expert who cleans tombstones. She finds it absolutely fascinating watching them take these overgrown grave sites and cleaning them up. And then there's this other guy who drives around, I think, Australia, and he cleans up yards and sidewalks. And she's like, just look at this. Isn't it calming? And I'm like, it feels like work, but no. But that's the thing. Like, we spend a lot of our time living a life on someone else's platform where we're just observing rather than participating.
I love that. Well, listen, Jeff, we are almost out of time. So there's two things I would love to do. One, I want to make sure that our listening, viewing audience knows how to find you, how to get a copy of the book. But then also, I would love for you to leave us with one major thing you want us to know, especially I keep going back to the seniors and the neurodiverse population, both to me and apparently the Zers. They they need some tips as well. So those two things before we go.
Sure. So first and foremost, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. I personally figured I can only be addicted to one platform, so I might as well be on LinkedIn. And it's the LinkedIn URL with Jeff Borschowa. The other is all my books are on Amazon. So if you search for The Art of Cyber War, a nod to Sun Tzu, it is there. And my business website is pharosbusiness.com. Pharos is Pharos. If I could leave with one parting thought, is start normalizing conversations about manipulation and scams so that because the biggest thing those people have working for them is that most victims are so ashamed they don't admit it. So we need to, as adults, as community members, normalize saying, oh my God, I got scammed, and don't immediately go, how could you be so dumb? Literally, that's what these people spend their hours and lives doing, is how do we manipulate smart people into moments of weakness? So,
Wow, that you know what? That is definitely some great advice. The stigma associated with you got scammed, so you must be an idiot is
yeah.
just asinine, right? It happens
Yep.
to us all. And it may not have been a phishing or any of that type of email, but we've all done something that we're like, right? But you but you learn from it and you grow, right? And
Yes.
it could happen again, but you want to equip yourself with the tools to decrease that it could happen to you
Yeah.
again.
And honestly, they go after the people they know they can scam. So the other part is, once you've been scammed, be on the alert, because they sell your details to other scammers.
Mm, I have a story about that, but that's for another day, Jeff. Well, listen, everyone, this has been another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. I just finished chatting with Jeff, the author of The Art of the Cyber War. And I like that you use the word war because it is a war. In fact, you might go as far as to say it's a pandemic. I
Yeah.
mean, because it's impacting so many people in all across all industries. I don't know if there's any industry that hasn't been cyber scammed. I think all industries have been impacted and some of them don't recover.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, please make sure that you like, share, follow, subscribe. Until next time, have a great week. You've just experienced another conversation from 52 Authors, 52 Weeks, Season 3. The conversation may pause here, but the growth continues. I'm Dr. Lisa L. Campbell, the Growth Motivator, and I'll see you next week.